Time travel, the concept of movement between certain points in time and or space by an object or a person, typically with the use of a hypothetical device known as a time machine. Time travel is a widely recognized concept in philosophy and fiction, particularly science fiction. The idea of a time machine was popularized by H.G. Wells' 1895 novel, The Time Machine. But if time travel is possible, why haven't we met any time travelers? This was the question Stephen Hawking advanced on the topic of time warps. But it misses something. What if we have met time travelers without even knowing it? Or what if we've met them but didn't believe them? Thus is the topic of today's discussion, the curious case of John Titor. What if time travel wasn't just a construct of science fiction? What if it was real? Who was John Titor and where did he come from? Was it all an elaborate hoax? Or was he really a time traveler from the year 2036? Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, former soldier, Marine Corps scout sniper, history professor, historian, and book author. And we will answer these questions and other issues on this segment of Forgotten History.
It was in the year 2000, on November 2nd, that a man calling himself John Titor logged onto an obscure internet discussion board and posted this message, quote, "Greetings, I am a time traveler from the year 2036. I am on my way home after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two topspin dual positive singularities that produce a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. I'll be happy to post pictures of the unit." End quote. Many questions followed. Titor answered them, some copiously, some cryptically. And he did indeed post pictures of his machine. Between November 2000 and March 2001, he answered many more questions. He described his time machine in detail, even posting pictures of its user's manual. A small internet cult grew up around him. Then one day he was gone. But who was he? John Titor claimed to be an American soldier from 2036 based in Tampa, Florida. He was assigned to a governmental time travel project and sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which he said was needed to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. A possible reference to the Unix year 2038 problem. The IBM 5100 runs the APL and BASIC programming languages. Titor said he had been selected for this mission specifically, given that his paternal grandfather was directly involved with the assembly and programming of the 5100. Sounds wacky? Well, here's the kicker. In 2002, NASA had to buy outdated medical equipment on eBay just so it could scavenge their obsolete Intel 8086 chips for their booster testing machines, and even the Orion spacecraft, whose first manned flight is scheduled for the 2020s and uses computers from 2002. Titor also claimed the 5100 was needed in the future due to a special feature, which IBM did not publicly announce. Sure enough, Bob Dubke, an engineer who helped design it, confirmed that such a feature existed. The 5100 had the rare ability to emulate programs in older languages used by IBM mainframes, but the company was worried about how its competition might use it and told nobody. So Titor was at the very least a well-informed hoaxer, a computer scientist or enthusiast who used his knowledge well. Titor even discussed the possibility of taking volunteers with him. He stated, quote, "For all of you interested in coming back with me to 2036, perhaps we should discuss the trip. Please be aware, the displacement unit moves through time, not space. First, we will be driving the current vehicle, a Chevy truck, with the displacement unit to Tampa, Florida. From there, we will go back to my arrival date on this world line. Then we will have to drive to Minnesota, sell the current vehicle, and get another one that would have been around in 1975. We will then move the displacement unit, 500 pounds or so, into the vehicle and go back to 1975. Once in 1975, we'll drive back to Tampa and make the final hop to 2036. If you'd like to stay in 1975, you're welcome to do that." It can also get quite hot and stuffy during the trip, and you'll be subjected to a 1.5 to 2 G-force the entire time. You'll also need some sort of a rebreather system or oxygen supply. There hasn't yet been any proof that someone took him up on the offer. But why was Titor in the year 2000 if he was supposed to retrieve a computer from 1975? Titor claimed to be on a stopover in the year 2000 for personal reasons, to collect pictures lost in the future, Civil War, and to visit his family, of whom he spoke often. He was a member of a military unit tasked with retrieving items from the past which could help get society back on its feet. The Civil War in the United States had triggered a limited nuclear exchange with Russia in 2015, which killed nearly 3 million people. In the aftermath, life had returned to something more like that of a Republican utopia would be. He stated, quote, "In 2036, I live in Central Florida with my family, and I'm currently stationed at an Army base in Tampa. The people that survived grew closer. Life is centered on the family and then the community. I cannot imagine living even a few hundred miles away from my parents. There is no large industrial complex creating masses of useless food and recreational items. Food and livestock are grown and sold locally. People spend much more time reading and talking together face to face. Religion is taken seriously and everyone can multiply and divide in their heads." End quote. As you can imagine, skeptics went wild, but Titor didn't care. He said, "My goal is not to be believed. Perhaps I should let you all in on a little secret. No one likes you in the future. This time period is looked at as being full of lazy, self-centered, civically ignorant sheep. Perhaps you should be less concerned about me and more concerned about that." Answering skeptics, Titor gave more detail about his predictions. He stated that the upcoming Civil War in the United States had to do with order and rights. He described it as beginning in 2005, with civil unrest surrounding the presidential election of that year. This prediction is off by a few years, but are we not currently living in this scenario? Just look at the year 2020 following the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. Major city blocks were burnt to the ground in Minneapolis, New York City, Chicago, and Portland, Oregon at the hands of protesters and racial injustice groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Widespread allegations arose from fraudulent voting during the Trump-Biden election, sparking protests at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. He further stated that the civil conflict would be characterized as having a Waco-type event every month that steadily gets worse and would be pretty much at everyone's doorstep and erupt by 2008. Mass shootings in American schools, places of business, and concerts have seemingly become the norm. Starting in 2019, the COVID virus has killed millions globally and has been mishandled by the CDC and World Health Organization, both of whom have become political and corrupted by Big Pharma and other global interests. Titor was vague as to the exact motivations and causes for World War III. At one point, he characterized the hostilities as being led by border clashes and overpopulation. Could the current Ukraine-Russia conflict be the catalyst Titor is speaking of, or the open border policy of the Biden regime? It's clear that not all of Titor's timelines are on target. Many are off. So Titor was wrong? It's all a hoax? Mystery solved? Not quite yet. You see, Titor's writings contained a get-out clause. Simply by traveling back, he said, he had created a new world line, distinct from the one in which he grew up. There was no guarantee that they'd follow the same path. In fact, he had already noticed some changes. News events that happen at different times, football games won by other teams, things like that. He put the temporal divergence between this world line and his own at 1 or 2%, but warned, quote, "The longer I am here, the larger that divergence becomes." So did John Titor really exist or not? On May 19, 2008, a private investigator, Mike Lynch, found no registry evidence, past or present, of any individual named John Titor. He did, however, identify the John Titor Foundation, a for-profit company formed on September 16, 2003, with no office or address other than a rented post office box in Kissimmee, Florida. An IP address connected with Titor also geolocated to Kissimmee. In 2009, a report by John Houston of the Hoax Hunter website named Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, as the CEO of the foundation. Lynch concluded that Larry Haber and his brother Richard, a computer scientist, were very likely the men behind John Titor, whom they actually introduced in 1998, accompanied by different predictions, including chaos due to the Y2K bug. John Heaton also reported that John Titor is a trademark registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. The Titor trademark is now classified as abandoned. So is John Titor real or just an elaborate hoax? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
We hope you enjoyed this segment of Forgotten History. Please click like and subscribe for free. And please stay tuned and be engaged and informed. Send us comments if you have questions or even show ideas, and we will respond to all requests and comments as soon as we can. Thank you.